Hey everybody, welcome to a conversation on fall retreat.
Yeah.
We're going to, it's our fall retreat this week, and so things are a little different. We're taking a break from Sermon on the Mount, and we are doing a series, like a 3-part series on, our theme is, what does it say on there?
No filters. What does it say over there?
No, we know.
Wait a second.
Yes.
There's a book.
There's a book.
This is like the movie press
Perfectly
tour.
made.
I love it. It's a great book.
You've done this so long ago, and now you're being asked questions about it. You're interviewing, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I totally remember when we filmed that one scene
Oh man.
2 years ago."
All right, Scott, you're doing the first little session.
Well, the whole concept that we're doing on this, like the foundation of it, is from Paul's words in 2 Corinthians. Sorry, I'm pulling up the tag. Scott, here we go. That Paul realizes that God's grace is sufficient for him, but it's very easy to think that to pull together, I'm so glad that God is gracious and that I'm perfect, or I have to be perfect in order to deserve grace. And Paul makes this declaration that he realizes about the adequacy, the sufficiency of God's grace, and how it is made perfect in our weakness, not in our perfection. And so the no filters is that in order for us to truly grasp onto God's love, His grace, His forgiveness, all these things for us, we have to realize that we have weaknesses and faults. And so it actually holds hands with the Sermon on the Mount. It's this internal transformation, being honest with where you're at. But then, the no filter is that we focus so much energy and effort onto a filter, and God is going, if you actually are just honest with where you're at, my grace is sufficient for you. Walking that out, and how we see ourselves, how God sees us, and how we see each other.
Who's doing the first session?
You and Scott Gorman are.
So how we see ourselves is such a weird thing. We're going to use the biblical narrative from Genesis 3.
Yes.
You like Genesis?
Well, I think for me that's my favorite part. When I think about identity, I think that's like such a...
Yeah, I think so. The 3, this is going to be the quickest version of these, but the 3 things is that the first way that they saw themselves is that they're like, ooh, this fruit, being able to have the knowledge of God or to be as God, I want that. And I feel like that is a great way that we often see ourselves, is to not need God or to have the power of God or seeing ourselves as God. I think usually
being good enough.
Yeah. Is that's like the 101.
Or even that it's achievable.
Yeah.
By yourself.
Yep. And so sometimes I feel like that, I don't know, it's like a cinematic moment, like very Indiana Jones-ish, that somebody sees themselves as a deity. Maybe that's not Indiana Jones. Maybe it was, when they were in that cave and they were... Anyway.
He wants to have eternal life.
Yeah.
That works.
But
Was that Indiana?
I don't think people are thinking of themselves as being deity, but we sure like subconsciously kind of want to have that ability to not need God or to have the insight of God. And so another filter that we have for ourselves is from the second start of the from the story, who I really am should not be seen. So after they ate the fruit, so then it's the whole being a production. It's such, I think it's humor. It's like it's written as irony, as humor. That, God is walking into the garden and God goes, "Where are you guys?" And they were hiding. And it just is, humor is in the ironic. And so God, the person who yesterday in human history created the world, is in the garden, creator. I can't find you. But I think that is another huge thing, as we see ourselves as being something that should be covered or should be filtered or hidden, should hide ourselves from God and others. The third one from the third part of the story is I need to fix my issues before I can connect with God. And, that's a powerful thing. Actually talking with some people from church yesterday over lunch, and that there are people in their world, they're like adults, not like this isn't like a junior high thing. Adults that go, God has no interest in me. I don't know if I have interest in God, but God has no interest in me because of all the mess that I am. And I guess there's one more. The last one is that I am better off starting with blame. And that was such a great part of the story, is that both Adam and Eve just were in the blame game, blame the serpent and blame Eve. It's just blame is such a powerful thing. And so when I see another way you see yourself is that it's never my fault. And so anyway, I think this will be such a good place to start, in that when we see ourselves, if we are not at least giving some energy and effort to being honest with how we see ourselves, because we give so much energy to how others see us, and we can just not actually realize that we are putting a lot of life change and effort into how we see ourselves. And so that's where we're starting.
I like it. And then we go to session 2, and it's how God sees us. And I really love the story. You guys are looking at each other.
No,
Is something wrong? Okay. And just starting with oh my oh, goodness. So sorry. They're very distracting sometimes. But no.
Me. It's me.
Was that distracting?
A little bit.
Me
yeah.
being shocked at that statement?
Yes, it was all distracting. All right. So I'm talking through, we have some opening stuff, but I don't know. What was the quiz you made, Scott? He makes these 1 to 7 quizzes.
I like it.
I know. They're fun.
There's reason why I do the 7.
Why to 7? What is the reason?
And I actually like not using 0, but I get hard feedback that 0 needs to be.
I mean, I need 0. No.
Oh.
I like
People in the north would say, why is there no 0 on this? I had a bunch of zeros, and I'm like, there wasn't even a 0 on it. But the 7, because if you say
they're cheaters.
10 subconsciously is always a lie to the max. It's like that's the
yeah.
And so if you do it to 7, it gives subconsciously, because if you just say, you know what, I am always wanting to be outside, and not actually. You give yourself a 10, but when it's
I liked it. So we have a quiz. What is the quiz?
So the quiz is the two different things. We're looking at how God sees us and thinking about how we want other people to see us or don't want people to see us. And so the first quiz is surrounding things that are more embarrassing or things that we would generally not want to be seen. Giving those things there are some things some people will feel more pain in being seen falling than the actual injury of falling. And so, anyway, I'm not pointing any fingers.
No, I was thinking about that, and in my part, I think I wrote something like, it doesn't bother me to fall in front of people because it's kind of entertaining. And I like that I don't mind bringing some joy to the world.
So these embarrassing things, again, you can say, well, everything that's embarrassing is embarrassing to the max. Well, that's one possibility. On the other end of it, too, is to think about things that generally we want to be seen doing. Volunteering or attending a religious event or having a deep, insightful thought or conversation, all these things. And just to see the differences that people have in wanting to not be seen or to be seen, because our faith statement surrounding God seeing us is that God sees us. And one thing that is different in our relationship with humanity is that we work really hard either to be seen or not be seen. And God is going, you can do whatever you want. I see you.
I know. I love that. And I think, so we are talking about 1 Samuel and the moment when Samuel selects David to be king. And it's such an interesting story because it's only the older brothers that are invited. And David's not even invited to meet with Samuel. David is not there at all. They assume immediately
it's going to be the oldest. We went out for breakfast burritos this morning.
Oh, and they didn't invite me. You're so rude.
We're good.
Did you really?
No.
Oh, jeez.
I could feel the button.
Did
you really?
Well, he jumped into it so quickly, and I was like, oh, they really did go to breakfast burritos without me. It's so mean.
And then we showed up here staggered, so you wouldn't know.
You know, I wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah.
They were planning it.
And so now there is a 4%
Uh,
likelihood that we actually did get Doritos.
I'm still wondering, silently wondering, did they do this? So David wasn't invited, which apparently is a button for me. Not a shocker, I don't think. So I love this story, how it goes through all the brothers. And I was thinking about, I am a girl. We've been talking about, what were we talking about all morning?
Gummy bears?
No, the movie. I was going to even say it wrong.
Yes, all morning we were talking about
All
gummy
morning.
bears.
Well, after the burrito.
After the burritos, and then Monty Python. But I watched Cinderella, so those are the stories I know. And one of the things at the end of Cinderella is like the stepsisters and the mom is there and the stepsisters, and then they're like, "Are there any other daughters?" And Cinderella's like locked in a basement attic, and I was like, "Oh, this is like poor Cinderella locked in the basement, and the prince is looking for her." And I thought of David. He's like locked in the he's out in the field as a shepherd, and nobody ever thought to invite him because there's just no way that like David would be the king because he's the youngest. He's probably a little smelly. He's he's responsible, but he's out in the field. Like this is the unseen son. And so I do really like this story.
One of the things about, like, don't you think they weren't worried about David's feelings?
They didn't even think of David.
Exactly.
Like David was
And so-
not a consideration at all.
Yeah. So there's a difference between like excluding somebody because like intentionally, like
Yeah.
we don't want them here. But
Right.
it was like another level.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that we don't want you here.
Like
Just,
you're not
why
even
would
on
you
the
even
radar.
be here?
Yeah. We don't know why you would think you'd be here. Yeah. So it was more like that. And so there's a part where like Samuel is going through the list of brothers and he's like, "Is there another one?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, I guess there's the youngest out in the field." And then Samuel sent for him, and he said, "We will not sit down until he arrives." And I just really like that tiny line because it's like David's not even thought about. He's like he's a back thought, like nobody even considered David. And then all of a sudden Samuel's like, "We will not even sit. You cannot even sit down till he arrives." And like how, as somebody like feels, someone feels unimportance and like, stinking tears. Like they're not even going to sit down till he arrives. And so there's definitely this moment of like, okay, like what are the stories you feel in this? Obviously I feel some things. And like, what are the stories you're telling yourself about what God sees in you and who God sees you and what other people are thinking about you? What is going on in your own mind when you feel qualified or when you don't feel qualified? And I really like some of the questions. My husband and I were talking about it, and it was like, the first question I thought was, is there a time when God chose you for something that you didn't feel qualified? And then the second question that Mike came up with, and I was like, this is really good. Is there a time you felt qualified but overlooked? And I think that happens more than people want to say. And then we just talked about the stories you're telling yourself about feeling disqualified and what's the story God's telling about you and how does God see you? And the whole point of this story, I mean, not the whole point, but like part of it is God looks at the heart and not what we look at, and how we can quickly like feel like things are a popularity contest. And then there's this person that you just didn't expect, you didn't think of, you didn't even consider. And God was like, no, look at their heart. Like there's something going on over there.
Yeah.
And
Isn't
I think
that
it's
part
really
of one of the lines of this whole narrative is that God looks at the heart, not at the external?
Yeah. So that's part 2, how God sees us. I really like it.
That's
So
good.
you guys wrote a book.
But yeah, part 3 is just focused on how we see others. And so parts 1 and 2 really set us up to be able to have conversation about our perspective of others. And for me, it's always like there's a helpful tool of these 2 different like lenses that we can see the world as, especially as Christians. One is the bounded set perspective and the other is the centered set perspective. So Rich and I are going to jump into a lot of conversation about what those things, what does it look like to view your faith through those different perspectives in relationship with others. The bounded set, I would say, is probably the norm perspective, at least currently. And I think it's because there's a lot of reasons why. It's easier, it's safe. Bounded set essentially says you're either with us or you're not. You're either part of us or you're not. There's no room for like kind of, or there's little room for in process, I guess.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think about kind of. I think like life is all kind of. But that if there's no room for in process, then it's
Yeah. A bounded set is, there are a lot of helpful uses for it. Like your family is a bounded set. Like, right? Like the people in your family they're either a part of your family or they're not. And people can become inside of that bounded set.
Yeah.
But there's not really room for the gray area in that necessarily.
Yeah. But and we'll think about how offensive that is if your parent looks at you and goes, you say, at least I'm your son.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And so a bounded set, it builds trust in groups of people, like your coworkers, the people you work with, all these areas of life that you know who's in and who's out, and that makes work, that makes family, that makes a lot of relationships in life easy, reliable. Maybe my argument is maybe faith viewed in a bounded set actually isn't, well, it could be helpful, may not actually be useful or healthy. So then Rich is gonna share the second lens, which is the centered set. How would you talk about it?
Yeah, after we have fun and Greg talks about bounded set, then we shifted a little bit, and it's a multimedia presentation. It really is, with the book but then we talk about the centered set, and the centered set is about direction. It's about where people are going, what direction people are going to, and that point that we're talking about aiming towards is Jesus. So one of the things in the book and on the screen and everywhere that we're going to talk about is that it's not like everyone picks their center. It's Jesus is the center. Yeah. And then you can see the arrows and what direction movement people are making towards or around or away from or whatever. But it allows for process. It allows for walking with people. It allows for mutual discipleship. It allows for all these things that help people walk towards the person, the thing that is the center of our faith, instead of going, well, if you're in this center, you have to look this way. It's no, that's Jesus, and we're gonna move towards him. So it's great. It's a great way to process faith. And then after we look at those two things, then Greg's gonna take it home.
Yeah, there's really three stories in Scripture where you see Jesus viewing people with this centered set perspective, inviting them to shift or change direction or follow him, even in the midst of their own messy life and failures. So there's the one at the well, there's Zacchaeus, there's the tax collector and the Pharisee moment in the temple. And all of those moments is Jesus seeing people where they're at and then giving the invitation to turn, giving the invitation to be different. And that's really like the challenge, is to view people with that lens of like, yeah, messed up, yeah, maybe far from God, but really like, what is God doing in the lives of people that we can call out, that we can recognize where, like, if I believe that the Holy Spirit is real and at work, then it means that it's not just for me, it's for my neighbors and the people around me. And so my job shouldn't be to protect this circle, protect this church, you're either in or you're out. It should actually, hey, where's God at work in the world? Where can we recognize that? Where can we participate? Where can we partner with people that maybe way different perspectives and outside of cultural norms of what church or Christianity be, but maybe they're doing God's work. And so being able to see people in that lens, removing that filter, I guess.
Yeah, think about those, so many moments. The woman giving the 2 worthless coins, where was she at? And thinking about the Roman centurion, Jesus goes, wow, this faith is like nobody else. Like, that was an outsider.
Yeah.
Even the criminal on the cross, today you're going to be with me in paradise. Again, that it's man, we have all
It's
these.
so offensive. If you view the world in a bounded set, those moments are so offensive.
Or
I've given up. I've done everything I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that guy at the end of his life, even if he was a terrible person, that's all he had to say.
yeah, it's the parable of the prodigal son. It's the other brother.
Yeah, it's the other brother.
Yeah.
The other brother.
Interesting.
I love it. This is good.
But
I love those stories too.
The value in retreat is that being set out are part of the normal, and these sessions are going to be great, whether we're at a retreat or just taking a moment in normal weeks to just get outside of the normal routine is such a valuable thing. And so here's a moment that we have every year where we just do it on purpose.
I like it. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, we'll see you next week when we jump back into the Sermon on the Mount.